colleague or mentor. Each of us today holds a piece of faith in our hearts. And although today those hearts are broken, we look to each other and the beautiful example of Faithe's life for courage, inspiration, and resilience as we attempt to put the pieces back together. To Faithe's family, her wonderful parents, Charlie and Judith. In the inner chamber of the profound grief that engulfs you is an extraordinary love that Faithe had for you and you for her. A love that endures, now and always. The Jewish teacher, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, teaches that there are 3 ways to mourn. The first is to cry. The second is to grow silent. The third is to transform sorrow into song. So gathered here, we have permission to do all 3. To move from tears to laughter and back, from silence to celebration, to hold on to the image of Faithe in her utmost light, alongside the sadness of saying goodbye. So this morning, we'll hear stories and reflections on Faithe's life, trying as hard as we can to celebrate the profound impact that she had on so many of us. Thank you for being here. It's important to be together. And we'll do what we can to remember and to uplift Faithe's life and her soul. Our first speaker this morning is Cassiopeia Guthrie, one of Faithe's soul sisters and a dear friend.
It's hard to claim this brief moment to speak about Faithe, to try to capture the things that made her special and the ways that she made all of our lives better. I know beyond any doubt that, just as the rabbi said, she resides in your heart just as she resides in mine. And what makes my recollection special after all? Nothing. But this incredible person, this strong, lively woman with fiery hair and spirit and deep, deep loving heart. She was special. And so I feel I have to try to capture even the essence of her light. She earned that tribute each and every moment of every single day. Everyone should be so lucky as to have someone like Faithe in their life. She was the epitome of joy. Even experiencing these moments crippled with devastating sorrow and loss the last 2 weeks, I have had to take stock of how much our lives were improved because of Faithe. We feel this grief so profoundly because of the joy and the love that came before it. Look around, it's simple to see how many lives she touched and what a legacy she's left. Faithe was filled with goals and aspirations. She was earnest and brave and full of laughter. She had big dreams and she gave everything to each moment. She loved the great outdoors. She loved living things. She was compassionate, thoughtful, and generous with her time. She was working hard on herself. Faithe loved my children and my nieces. She loved on them hard. She loved her friends, her family, and my family. She believed in bettering the world around her, and she stood up for what she believed in. She fought through more personal adversity than some of us have ever experienced in order to be there for others. Once, Faithe said this. She said, "The time is now. Your biggest dreams, the one you pushed away, can no longer stay small in the box that you put them in inside of your mind. It's time to revisit that box and get going. They whisper, life is happening with or without you, but wouldn't it be better with you? Your community needs you just as much as you need them. Do not shy away. Step into this new phase of self. Love bigger and harder than you ever thought you would allow yourself to. We miss you, Auntie Faith. We were all lucky to be in your orbit during your years here and to have you as part of our family. I'm so thankful that you were a part of Rigel's life and through him a part of ours. Faith, you said, I think I'm gonna do some rad stuff in this lifetime. I think I'm gonna work real hard and love even harder. You did love. We're gonna try to do right by you and continue to do the same in your memory. We will love you forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassiopeia. Next, we'll hear from Ashlyn Jimenez, one of Faith's best friends since high school.
Good morning. Before I introduce myself, I would like to thank you all for being here to celebrate the life of Faith. The number of you who took the time to gather here is a testament of how important Faith is in all of our lives. I'd also like to take the time to express my deepest condolences to her parents, Judith and Charles. I see a few familiar faces here, but for those who don't know me, I'm Ashlyn. Faith and I met in the summer going into freshman year. She came over to exchange a book with me and stayed for Chinese food and movie Donnie Darko. We were inseparable ever since. Her father, Charlie, accepted his newfound daughter immediately, which meant week-long slumber parties and never-ending hangouts. Whether it was Christmas morning or our parents' birthdays, we were together. As you all know, Faith was kindness and love personified. Everywhere she went, she brought light and happiness. She never turned down a chance to meet new people, take a random camping trip or road trip, have a picnic somewhere with too many bugs and not enough shade, end up with no phone service while out on a hike in the middle of nowhere, but always somehow managed to keep a smile on her face. Faith loved freely and wholeheartedly, which is something I think we will all miss about her. Here's a quote from one of her favorite books, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Real love is accepting other people the way that they are without trying to change them, which I think describes Faith to a T. She loved openly and expected nothing in return. Faith fought a long, hard battle with addiction, and it waged war with her until the very end. Heroin told her, I can make you feel accepted, I can make you feel alright, I can make you feel loved, worthy, and normal, and I can make you feel nothing at all. But what it didn't tell her was how it would take away her sparkle and her smile, and how it would take away her humor, and how it would take until it took her life. I miss her with every fiber of my being, and I find comfort that she's with us always now. Thank you.
Alongside the reflections and stories and tributes to Faith that we're going to hear this morning, in times like this, we sometimes also need to lean on the words of poetry. When words seem so insufficient, we listen to the music and the rhythms and the messages found in words of poetry, and in particular, the words of Rupi Kaur, one of Faith's favorite poets. So we'll have Aisley and then Gail later read some of Faith's favorite poetry as a way to also hear her voice come through this morning.
Everyone. Let's see. Okay. This is titled Funeral. When I go from this place, dress the porch with garlands, as you would for a wedding, my dear. Pull the people from their homes and dance in the streets. When death arrives, like a bride at the aisle, send me off. Send me off in my brightest clothing. Serve ice cream with rose petals to our guests. There is no reason to cry, my dear. I have waited my whole life for such a beauty to take my breath away. When I go, let it be a celebration, for I have been here, I have lived, and I have won at this game called life. I have one more, and this one is entitled I am of the earth, and to the earth I shall return once more. Life and death are old friends, and I am the conversation between them. I am their late night chatter, their laughter and tears. What is there to be afraid of if I am the gift they give to each other? This place never belonged to me anyway. I have always been theirs. I love you, Faith, and I send my love to each of you today and beyond.
We'll next hear from Rigel Barlow, one of Faith's best friends.
Pardon the tears or lack of tears, as grief has no timeline. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rigel. Faith and I were very close. This is me trying to write down, trying to quantify feelings that words cannot describe, trying to explain grief that has no explanation, trying to present a strength that I do not have. Who is Faith? Faith was everything. She was unconditional love and laughter. She was a silly joke and a baby voice that stays with you all day. The good-spirited sense of adventure that so few manage to hold on to into adulthood. The perfect example of humanity that I strive to become. Who was Faith? To put it simply, Faith was love. The world is a darker place without her sunshine to light the way. Life is suddenly more finite, fears more tangible, palpable, real. When I get like this, I can hear her telling me, "Don't be sad." I can feel her voice of reason resonating within me, always. And although I'm overwhelmed with sadness of her passing, it's important for me to remember that she'll never leave me. She'll always be a part of everything that I do. And that when I think of her fondly through the sadness. I'm overcome with immense gratitude. I was so beyond blessed to have her touch my life. Honestly, words can't even begin to describe how grateful I am for every moment that I had the privilege to spend with her. Making memories that will stay with me for the rest of my life. I'm just so grateful that I can carry a piece of who she was with me forever. I can love unconditionally as she loved. I can dive headfirst into adventure with an open mind and an open heart. I can live like she lived, and I can love like she loved. So a lot of you guys might not know this, a lot of you guys might know this, but her and I at one point were engaged to be married, and I would like to share kind of a brief story of that day because it almost didn't happen. So we were at Disneyland. I know, the corniest place to ever ask somebody to marry you, right? And I had this whole plan laid out with my other sister, who's not here today. And the plan was to like sneakily hold up a sign behind her and like on the hush hush, like not have her find out and ask her to marry her, like, ask her to marry me like that. And she wasn't having sitting in the front seat. She didn't want to get wet. And I don't know if you know Faith, which obviously you all do, but like, she could get grumpy. She could be very fiery. And she did not want to sit in the front.
She didn't have that red hair for nothing.
She did not have that red hair for nothing, that's right. She did not want to sit in that front seat, and it took a lot of convincing. We fed her this whole bullshit line about tradition. We have all the kids here. We're gonna buy the pictures today. She did not want to sit in the front seat. And I'm just thinking, look, dude, you have to sit in the front. Like, you're derailing everything. So anyway, she sat in the front seat. And she was not happy about it. She made it very clear that she was not happy about it. And she was pouty the whole time. And anyone who knows Faith knows that when she's pouty, it's just adorable. So anyway, life is going, everything's all sweet, and I hold up the sign, and she didn't know it was coming, and it was just so interesting to watch her go from the poutiest, grumpiest, I can't believe you're getting me wet attitude, to seeing her glow with happiness afterwards, And that kind of like personifies how real life is, 1 minute will be one thing and the next minute will be a different thing, and it's hard. Life is hard. And I don't think page 417 has ever been more pertinent to me than it is right now. And this is definitely the hardest thing that I've ever been through in my entire life. I'm grateful that I don't have to go through it alone. And if we could be so kind to ourselves, please laugh, love, and exchange stories of faith. And I would love to hear everyone's fondest memory of the closest friend that I've ever had. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. We can love like Faith loved. We can live like Faith lived. We'll now hear from Charlie, Faith's dad.
Sometimes it feels like there's a million things to say. And then sometimes it feels like there's nothing to say. I just wanted to remember a few times in our life that I could see clearly who Faith was. One time Faith was about 4 years old. And I was broke. I moved into a new apartment. All my money was gone. And it was Christmas. And I didn't have money for a tree. And I got her a couple of presents from the dollar store. And so I made a tree on the wall with lights. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "This is our Christmas tree. I can't get a tree." And she was like, "Oh, I like it." And I gave her her presents, and she loved the presents. And then she left for a little while, and she came back, and she made me this picture of a Christmas tree. And he even has the plug. That's the best gift I ever got. And that was the best Christmas I ever had. And that's just the way she was, you know. She never asked for anything. She never wanted anything except your love. And but she was grateful for anything she did get. And there was one other time when she was a teenager, probably 12 or 13, I don't know. But I was afraid for her, you know, getting hurt out in the world. And I bought her some mace, and I bought her, I wanted to buy her a stun gun. I wanted to buy her a real gun. But she said, "Daddy, I don't want any of that stuff. I'm never going to use it." And I said, "What are you going to do, Faith, if somebody attacks you?" She said, "I'm going to sit on the floor and I'm going to cover my head." And that's the way she was. She couldn't hurt a fly, even if the fly was killing her. She was just a peaceful person. She loved everyone, no matter what, you know. She didn't look at people from different countries or different colors or different genders. Everyone was a human being to her. And anything else didn't make sense to her. And I don't know, she taught me empathy, compassion, to be non-judgmental. She was generous, she was kind, she was gentle, and she would forgive. And I told her a couple of years ago, I saw on TV, Michelle Obama's mom, they asked her, you know, "What do you think of your daughter?" And she said, "I want to be just like her when I grow up." And the next day I saw Faith, and I told her about that, and I said, "You know, I want to be just like you when I grow up." Because she was perfect. And this is one other thing I wanted to say, because I'm in recovery. I've been in recovery most of my life. There's a lot of people here in recovery. And Faith will want me to tell you all to, you're having a hard time, talk to somebody. Go to a meeting, you know, let it out, whatever it is. Grab somebody that you trust and you can talk to, and don't turn away from the meetings, you know, make more meetings. And just don't let go. Don't let go, because it'll take you in a second. And that's all. Thanks.
I'd like to invite up Gail to recite 2 more poems from Rupi Kaur's book of poetry, The Sun and Her Flowers.
Good morning. Sorry.
one is entitled Sunflowers. Despite knowing they won't be here for long, they still choose to live their brightest lives. When death takes my hand, I will hold you with the other and promise to find you in every lifetime. I love you, Miss Faith. I love you. She was the epitome of unconditional love. So even an old lady like myself should include me in everything and everywhere. And she didn't care. She didn't judge the age. She was definitely unconditional love.
Thank you, Gail. We'll now hear from Judith. Faith's mother.
Thank you so much for coming. This horrible nightmare would be so much more difficult to get through if it weren't for all of you. All of your messages of love and support and caring, reaching out, whether it's texting, calling, Facebook messaging, however you have all reached out to me and to Faith's dad, Charlie, has meant so much to me. In times like this, it truly takes a village. And I know that the only way I'm able to stand here today is because of you all lifting me up. And I'm very grateful. I prepared some words, but I feel like I'm already going to be going off book here. It's just so hard. I can never say enough words that would help convey all the beauty and complexity that was Faith, nor the vast emptiness there is now that she is gone. Memories, I have 27 plus years of them. How to choose just a few without feeling like I left out the best ones. So many of you have been so important to Faith. You all have touched her life very deeply. She was a people collector. If you came into her sphere, she latched on and you weren't getting away unless you left. And all she wanted was to do good in this world. All she wanted to do was to be a better person. I never saw anybody work so hard in her recovery to try to change, to try to be the person that she wanted to be on this earth. Since she passed, and I gathered up her journals and all of her personal belongings, I saw her big book, and it was highlighted and it was underlined and there were notes in the margin. She really wanted to get it, and she really wanted to work it. Was she perfect? Of course not. Who is? But she knew her struggles. She knew the things that she wanted to change. And she had written like a 3-page prayer to God, asking God to remove her defects and to help make her the better person that she wanted to be. But even though she had her struggles, she had her joy, and she had so much joy that many of you are responsible for giving to her. She had so many happy memories with her Turning Point ladies, and she wrote fondly about a trip to Mount Laguna that she had taken with several of you. And she described how that was her happy place, being there with these women who gave her so much strength and so much joy. And she wrote about sitting by the fire and listening to the different bantering amongst you and feeling at peace and so grateful that she could be with you and that she had such strong, beautiful women in her life. JJ, you were her second mom. Honestly, I was a little jealous when Rigel and Faith first got together. You know, I wanted to spend some time with my daughter, and every time I would call her and say, hey, can we get together? She's like, oh, I'm over with with Rigel's mom. And you know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that with Rigel's mom. And her favorite thing to do was gardening with you. And she loved nature, and she loved being in that garden and learning with you. And I would say to her, you know, how about some time with your real mom? And, you know, but those times were special to her. And she embraced your family, Rigel's family, and felt that you were all her family. Michelle, she had so many happy times with you, going to Vegas, going to Slab City, going to various places. I mean, so many of you opened up a world to her that she never knew. And those memories stayed with her and meant so much to her. And Shannon, who couldn't be here because unfortunately she had had a tonsillectomy right before Mother's Day, and she flew in from Mississippi to be here for this event, and her throat started bleeding. And so she's in the hospital right now and she couldn't be here. But Shannon also, you know, brought so many gifts to Faith's life. Her and Rigel and Faith went to Alaska together and took so many trips. And Faith was in awe of every place that she went, so that whenever she went somewhere new, she was like, I want to live here. You know, she went to Alaska, oh my God, I want to live here. Her dad took her up to Washington State, oh my gosh, she was just enamored of the trees and the mountains, and she's like, I want to live here. They went to the Grand Canyon. Wherever she went, she fell in love. And her dream was to continue to travel and explore the world. What can I say? What I can say about Faith is that I am forever changed because of her. She came into my life and made me a better person. From the time she was born, I had to examine who I was, what I believed in, what my values are, what was important to me, and what kind of parent I wanted to be. New motherhood was a 24/7 classroom where I learned and grew as a person. I can't even see. As well as a mom. I became a different person as a result. I hoped a better person. But I have to say, during the 6+ years she had been sober, she taught me a lot more. Her strength, her kindness, her bravery, her compassion, and her love made me look at myself and how I behaved in the world. And I realized I still had more work to do on myself. And now I am an even better person because she helped me open up my heart wider. Losing her is hard. My life will forever be divided into before and after. I know nothing about this new world of after, but I know I carry her with me always as I go forward, and this alone will give me strength to continue on. We heard some poems from Ruthie Carr that were among Faith's favorites. This one, I think, applies to all of us. What is stronger than the human heart, which shatters over and over and still lives? Faith would want us to live, and as long as I live, she does too. And so, thank you for being here, and please, if Faith touched you in any way, let that ripple effect through in your lives so that you give a little bit of what she gave to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. Thank you, everyone who came up and spoke and shared memories and stories and reflections on the life Faith lived. When I was meeting with Charlie and Judith just a couple days ago, thinking about this morning, I asked the two of them how they came up with the name. how they came up with the name Faith. And you all shared a couple of answers, but I'm thinking about the faith that it required to keep trying and trying to bring her into the world. And now, of course, we're thinking about the faith that's required to go on living, go on loving in this world. And here, I mean not only a faith in a higher power. Right? For some of us, that's compelling and real and inspiring, and if so, maybe lean on that faith to wake up tomorrow and the next day and the next day and to pursue the lives we want to live. But for some of us, we need to turn elsewhere. We need to look elsewhere for faith. And that's okay. That's okay. Some of us look to each other, to the inspiration of beautiful lives lived, for faith in order to live our lives in that way. And so when we say we're in need of faith right now, it's hard not to hear it in every sense of the word. And here I just want to uplift what you said, Judith, because we can continue, we must continue to look for faith in every aspect of our life. When we're on an adventure, when we're in a beautiful place, can we see the world through faith's eyes? When we encounter someone who might be different from us, someone who might be on the margins of society for any one reason, can we see them, can we welcome them with faith's heart? And I just bless us, I pray, that as we continue to navigate the ups and downs of our own lives, as we face any countless struggle that might await any of us, that we can hear her voice encouraging us to keep pushing forward, to keep hoping, to keep loving, to keep living. Now I'm going to recite a prayer, a traditional Jewish prayer. I'm going to recite two of them. The first is called the El Malei Rachamim prayer. The second is what's known as the Mourner's Kaddish, which Judith is going to recite alongside me. This El Malei prayer includes Faith's name in Hebrew, which I imagine many of you don't know what her Hebrew name was. It was Hannah Shoshana. Hannah Shoshana. And we didn't talk about this, Charlie and Judith, but Hannah means gracious, and Shoshana is a kind of flower, is a rose. So the name that you gave her in Hebrew was a gracious flower, a gracious flower. And to grow flowers, to tend to flowers, to see beauty in flowers is also an act of faith in the potential of this world to grow, to give life, to nourish, to sustain. And so I pray that we see faith in our everyday lives. We see our faith in the beautiful markers of hope and potential all around us. I'll ask us to all rise as I recite the El Malei prayer. El Malei Rachamim שוכן במרומים, אמצי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת חנה שושנה בת מחלה, שלחה לעולמה בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה. Allah balarachamim, mastireha b'seto k'nafecha le'olamim, utzror b'tzor ha'chaim et nishmata, Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanoach b'shalom al mishkava, v'noma, Amen. Compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Faithe Thogode, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. We'll conclude our service with the mourner's Kaddish, this ancient memorial prayer that Jews recite daily for the full year after the death of a loved one. As many of you have mentioned, Judith, as you said so beautifully, I know that you and Charlie and Rigel and so many of us have been touched by the messages that you've received this past week. The stories about the ways that faith impacted you. And while today there isn't more time to invite people up to the podium to share these stories, the family really encourages you and invites you to stay here in this space. There's food and drink to partake in, and please share these stories. Even as we linger in this space, memories, reflections, images, little anecdotes about time that you spent with Faith, ways she impacted you. Please share them with each other. Please share them with the family. And even if they come to you a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months later, find a way to send them to the family. These are gifts that you can unwrap over time. I also want you to know that at 6 p.m. tonight, everyone here is invited to a lantern release ceremony, which will be another way of honoring the life and that Faith lived and saying goodbye. I'm going to give you the address now, so if you want to take out a phone to take this down, or you can come up to Rigel, or you can come up to Cassiopeia or Judith or Charlie afterwards and make sure that you have the address. But it's 2800 Torrey Pines Scenic Drive in La Jolla. 2800 Torrey Pines Scenic Drive in La Jolla. That's for the lantern lighting and release ceremony at 6 p.m. this evening. I just want to thank everyone who spoke today, everyone who's here today holding the family in love. We'll recite the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach chirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayichon u'vyomechon, v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kariv, v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach, v'olam u'olmei omayah. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudusha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran b'alma v'meru Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Zichrona livracha, may Faith's memory endure for us all as a blessing. Thank you all so much for being here. Please stay, continue to hold each other, to hug each other, to love each other.